Go.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I am your host, Sukriti Advanshi, and I'm here with the second edition of SpeedHire Conclave to discuss the landscape of technical assessments in India. Thank you to each one of you for joining us today, and I heartily welcome all of you to the second edition, of course. In our last edition of the conclave, we witnessed diverse participation of more than 250 live attendees. 8 industry experts shed light on the current trends of technical assessments in India and also highlighted how technology is aiding the process for them. Not just this, with some super fun trivia quiz, we were able to gauge the audience throughout the conclave, which also yielded some great engagement results for us. In today's conclave, ladies and gentlemen, I have another set of amazing leaders who will talk about the time to hire, methods, strategies involved, reaping the benefits of technology, and much more. Audience, you will also have an opportunity to participate in the trivia quiz during the conclave. If you win, you will be eligible to win vouchers worth ₹1,000 each. The rules of the trivia quiz is that it has already started, in fact, right from 2:30, and it'll be live till 5 p.m. today. You have maximum 2 attempts to complete the quiz. And for that, you'll have to keenly observe our conversation from starting to end. And we'll have some segments that will actually help you answer the questions of the quiz. So before we deep dive and unfold rest of the segments today, let's have a look at what happened at the Maiden Conclave last month. Can we have the video, please? Welcome to the SpeedHire Conclave. I am your host, Sukriti Advanshi, and I heartily welcome our eminent guests, speakers, and our wonderful audience this afternoon.
We're heading towards utilizing technology into the assessment process. Right now, again, I end up wearing two hats because we also build those platforms, or we provide those platforms from the IT leadership point of view. And again, I am a consumer in terms of using those platforms when I'm hiring for my talent.
We associated with a tech gig, and everything, the recruitment process entirely has been changed. Okay, so we use this tech platform for our internal as well as the external hiring, and now we can see that we're quality people working with Singh.
Were introduced to tech gig, and it has really enabled us to successfully use the proctoring capabilities to conduct our assessments virtually anytime and anywhere.
Tech recruiters hiring programmers, developers, what's the biggest challenge that they face? And the vast majority of them, 70% of the 89 people who voted, said the resume doesn't reflect the reality.
SpeedHire is a technically advanced AI-powered tool with capability to assess the developers in 56 coding languages. With SpeedHire, it becomes very easy to create tests and assess the candidate remotely, with highly advanced proctoring and plagiarism features. When it comes to remote hiring, SpeedHire also supports global time zone.
We at Times Internet and TechGeek have been innovating constantly to build solutions for tech-focused hiring.
So folks, that was about the first edition. Time for us to move to our next segment, which is the panel discussion, and I have some eminent names here with me. In our last conversation, the leaders from Zoho, Emphasis, Micron, Capgemini, AGS, Satel shared insights on strategies and methods of virtual technical assessments for hiring the tech talent in their organizations. The leaders shared their side of story of managing the entire recruitment process and yielding the right ROIs from it. In today's panel discussion, I have another set of HR tech and talent acquisition leaders who will talk about the time to hire, how technology is enabling and minimizing the overall time for them. Folks, please join me in welcoming Megha Gupta, Director, Human Resources with Fiserv.
Hello, everyone. And it's absolutely my pleasure to be part of SpeedHire Talent Assessment Conclave, and absolutely looking forward towards having a great interaction today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Megha. Abdul Nizar, Associate Director, Human Resources, Verizon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm immense pleasure to join this fantastic opportunity to have a conversation with all of you, and looking forward to hear from everyone.
Thank you, Abdul. Jagat Singh, COO, Cybage.
Hi, I'm Jagat Singh. Cybage Software is a software development company, and my role as CEO is related where all skill building and delivery is included, both. And I'm happy to be part of this because this is one challenge which, IT has been there for quite some time, but this is yet to be addressed to its fullest glory. So it's still in fancy stage, I feel.
Thanks, Jagat. Pallav Purkayastha, Head of Talent Acquisition India at Rockwell Automation.
Hello, Sukriti. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to the TechGig Talent Assessment Conclave 2022. Looking forward to have a great discussion, and like Jagat was saying, right, automation hiring need of the hour. So looking forward to discuss and get great inputs from all the leaders in the call. Thank you.
So thank you to each one of you for being here and for adding such some insightful and great elements to our conversation, which I'm looking forward to, of course. So we'll quickly begin with the questions that I have for you. So to start with, I would want to know how do HR managers or tech managers in your organizations set up the format of virtual evaluation or online evaluations to start with. So, we'll begin with Abdul. Abdul, can we, have some insights from you?
Yeah, so if you really see from the traditional way of hiring and the modern days of hiring, we usually used to have people having in-person conversation, check their ability by asking questions. But now these days, and especially in the last 2 years, people really want to see how we can really shorten the time of the hiring, and also see that how we can really assess more accurate than we used to do. So I think more and more, the hiring managers and recruiters are going towards the online assessment, which really helps them to assess the candidate's capabilities more or skills more accurately. And generally, these formats are covered coding or programming assessments or analytical or quantitative aptitude to check that how really and how these candidates are faring in these assessments. And also, it also gives them a comparison of the entire slate. That I think that reduces the time and also increase the opportunity to go and land on the right candidate.
Thanks, Abdul. Megha?
See, I think, while we all talk about, the old age and the new age, I would just bring to the fact that, for the entire HR industry and for the talent, the landscape has completely changed in the last 2 years. With this pandemic, imagine, at least interview standpoint, everybody was very first about in-person interview. I don't think so, in a reality setting 2 years before, we ever thought about, not having an in-person interview, at least minimum 1 round before selecting a candidate. And that was a prerequisite. And today we are, after 2 years, we don't know where the talent is sitting. We don't care where talent would be based out of tomorrow. What we care about is this the right person for the right job and is able to manage virtually. I think the entire landscape has changed for us. And therefore, the question should be around, are we set up, not just from a process of how we interview, but also around, do we have the right tools, technology, that we are going to leverage to make that interview happen? Right from not just leveraging your Teams or Zoom to have the virtual meetings, but are you able to figure out the body language, those little nudges and the clues that give the fact that, is this person really capable of doing a job? How does the person cope up with the pressure? And I think, those cannot be just solved by Zoom or, any other virtual platform, but a more detailed collaborative platform where you can assess the candidate more deeply. I think that's the need of an hour beyond just thinking about, we've just gone to virtual, let's use a Zoom, let's use a team to make the interview happen. So I think there's a lot more, mechanics that needs to be figured out in the new model of hybrid / whatever ways that we have. But I think this process needs to be reinvented right from the scratch and make the process much more detailed, I would say.
So if I may ask, so when you say that there has to be a lot of details added to these tools and technology, what are those details? Like, would you like to share a couple of them, that this is what the requirement of the HR industry, of the fraternity, for all the people out there is, or, they look at?
Sure. So see, think about it, right? Now, if the organization, say, for example, earlier into a lot of setup would want to give, assessments to the people. Now, how would you make those assessments very, very live, which can be virtually done, but at the same time, the other side of the table, the talent is not misleading that assessment and, just doing it at their own time, their wish, and maybe probably taking help from Google or somebody else. So you need to also create an environment, which is a simulated environment where that the person is taking that assessment on their own. Second, is able to cope up with the assessment pressure, and you're able to assess those. I think so that's definitely one that technology needs to solve. I think the second piece is, when you virtually interact, you can't notice a body language of an individual. So how can you get more collaborative way of assessing a candidate where it does make you feel and like that you're meeting the entire candidate from top to down, and is able to assess the body language, how is, reacting to different set of questions, or, role plays, or any other group settings that you want an individual to assess to. The third that I would really say is, if you really think of it, right, if you come into a virtual setup where teams are going to be, from tomorrow virtually sitting out of anywhere, how do you assess these people also to say, how do they behave into a virtual setup of 50 people or 50-member team into a virtual thing, and, yet able to manage the team effectively, both emotionally as well as obviously the fact that the work is to be done. And how well can you assess a candidate? Can you make a real simulation of how do they run meetings through a virtual platform again? Because these are not the skills which we told ever to the candidates as a prerequisite. But I think if you're hiring a leadership or a middle management role where there's going to be a large team which is not going to be physically available, I think these things needs to be sorted out by technology where you can assess the candidates.
Wonderful. I think that really helps us also understand what the industry requirements are in terms of, the technology part, where we are trying to pitch in and try to enable people perform better and, hire the right candidates for them. So that helps. Megha, thank you so much. I will now move to Jagat.
So see, Megha has brought up a lot of points, and I would just add there few. This remote interview, that is one thing to solve, and then speed is the another piece to solve. Both are little separate. I mean, you can speed up things by doing a lot of parallelism. So of course, a lot of assessment for a tech or a role, you can do parallel. You can deploy automation systems in terms of, the video processing capabilities, audio processing capabilities, and you can look at that. But I would look at that this remote hiring, and especially if you're trying to do mass, and as Megha said, you want to look at middle management or mid seniority hiring, that's going to be difficult. But if I see some solutions, I mean, metaverse, of course, is a buzzword today, but it is not as far as what we may be thinking. I think probably a couple of years and we would see virtual, people talking to each other, maybe far, but they will be in the same room virtually. So there is a lot which will happen in this space, I believe, and this space is going to be disrupted. Sometimes you may think that the interview is an interview, assessment is an assessment, but it can actually take a lot of shapes. And I feel a lot of disruption is required and will happen. Just one piece also I'll pick up that, remote offers a machine interaction, because naturally you are through machine, and machine can also measure a lot of things which you cannot do when you are sitting face to face. But one example I'll give you is that when a person is sitting in front of you, even person may be a little more nervous compared to when the person is sitting. So person could be on his own or her own a lot more. And then if you're looking at, say, programming sort of a thing, technology sort of a thing, and you really give a problem to solve, then you can analyze a lot by how much time and where the person is spending and pausing and things like that, which is very difficult for an analysis if you're sitting face to face with someone. So I would just add that it's a complex place. But as I said, I still believe it is in infancy. It is not matured. It is a long time before it will mature, but it is set for disruption for sure.
Actually, and it's time that we are actually looking at constant evolution of anything and everything that we're trying to work on. So with these, conversations, it is very helpful for us also to understand what's in and what's out and what's trending and what's not. So thank you, Jagat, for that. Pallav?
So I think what my panelist peers have shared is very important. I want to take a step back, right? So with or without the pandemic, the role of assessments must be very important and strategic for business and HR, right? What the pandemic has actually done is accelerated the need to adopt hiring automation and online methodologies and assessment, right? Since the people who are involved in hiring, so be it business, candidates, HR, most of them are operating remotely. Correct. So now there are many transformative technologies like AI, backed intelligence techniques, other related techniques which predict your hiring decisions and the successes, right? Now that is the what part of the question. Once we have outlined that vision, the important thing is how we implement that strategy, right? So that would be then again based on two pillars: the job that we are hiring for and how important, critical it is for your organization, and the medium. So for the purpose of our discussion, we talked about, online assessments and online evaluations. Now, if we can merge these two and bring everybody on the same page, so be it candidates talking about how they misrepresent, right? Talking about business who wants talent as of yesterday, and the recruiters who manually have to sift through all the, say, 100 or 200 profiles of Java developers which are coming their way. So if we can merge the needs of the three and automate it, I think that would be a great success story. And I think what has come from the discussion is quite imperative and important for the success.
Thank you, Pallav. Now, with these insights shared, I will move to the next set of things that I would want to know from you. So I'll go back to Abdul. Abdul, I would want to know from you that how do you ensure that you've reduced the turnaround time for your team, and what do you actually consider a healthy TAT to close positions in your organization or in industry perspective if you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think from a TAT is, I think, the most frequent used word in with respect to hiring or recruiting employees, right? People use the TAT or SLA, which is convenient for them. But from an experience perspective, turnaround time is one of the most important aspects that impact the overall hiring. Both from a candidate standpoint and from a hiring manager standpoint. Now, when you really want to look at TAT and how you really reduce TAT for the recruitment team or from the hiring manager standpoint, the first and foremost for me is that do you have a standard hiring process in your organization? Or you just come up with each role you have a separate, or you have a standard process in your organization that really provide the clarity for both recruiters and hiring managers. And the second thing is, most of the time, we often hear that what you see on the job spec and what you really want to hire are two different aspects. So how you really have a very clear roles and responsibility laid down for the hiring managers and the candidates when they create the job rec or when they meet candidates is very important, so that it really helps you, the recruiters, to find the finest candidates for you. The third thing what I see is that how you really more strategic in the hiring or in the ramp-up plan. Do you have a forecasting approach in your organization? Because this forecasting really helps the recruitment team to really see that what is going to come in their way and how they can really plan, and what are some of the things what they need to really keep in mind, where even from build their own team to whether they want to ramp up the recruitment team or they want to really leverage some of the technologies what is available in the market, how we can really manage the future hiring is something which we can really keep in mind. And also you see that most of the organizations are using technology, and we all want to be in the technology platform. How can we really automate our recruitment process, also really reduce some of the aspect what we want to look at, and also it really cleans up the whole process. Something which you can also try is that how you can really do a gamification of the sourcing team, because most of the recruitment team has a sourcing team separately, interviewing team separately. How you can really gamify some of the aspects of sourcing to really drive a source-a-thon events with the talent acquisition team, so that they can proactively look at or create pipeline that is based on the forecast what they have in with them. Maybe one of the other aspects for us to look into is how we can really explore opportunities to see how can we make our employees as a brand ambassadors to scout talent, right? That's also reduce the sourcing time for us. But these are some of the aspects. It's really see that to streamline the process, you have a set process so that everybody have a trust and clarity on what we really want to do. But if you really look at from a healthy TAT, and again the TAT depends on the team to team and organization to organization and how we really want to do it, because this has an impact on the business and also impact on the candidate experience. Because you cannot interview a candidate and make an offer after 60 days and you don't know what kind of experience you are going to provide for the candidate. So the TAT definitely has a lot of external factors influence how we really want to do it. But to really nurture a healthy SLA for an organization, I think it's important to establish or imperative to establish a standard hiring process first and foremost. And also, it may be good to explore that, if you have an agreed timelines between each of your internal steps between the recruiter and hiring managers, that helps reduce the ambiguity across the process and also build the trust between these two partners. The third thing is if you can leverage technology, today as we speak, we use technology to assess people on the technology aspect or the coding or an analytical space. How can we bring that so that it can reduce the time what you really want to screen the candidate? So I think these are some of the things. I don't want to really go back an exact number because the number does not going to depend, because there are a lot of other aspects is built into it. But if you can really have these things in place to an extent, I think you can really reduce the TAT, and also your candidate and the hiring manager would be very happy and the experience that they go through the overall hiring process.
Very well said, Abdul. And I think, the kind of engagement we bring out in the market to actually evaluate or hire any candidate, that creates an impact of the organization, of the kind of things they are asking, the kind of engagements, the kind of questions that they are, trying to put out. That is something that is being benchmarked by the candidates outside in the market. And that is in where they evaluate you, that what all roles or how much growth or, what are the kind of responsibilities or roles they would be, actually given to. So I think that completely makes sense to have various formats set in for different roles. I will now move to Pallav. Pallav, so Abdul helped us understand about the turnaround time an organization can follow and the various formats that they can look at. I want to know from you about the entire return on investment. So are you getting the right ROI from the method or format you're currently using, and what are the methods or factors that you consider while calculating your recruitment yield or ROI, I should say?
Sure, Sukriti. So allow me to give an example, right? And then extrapolate it for the answer that we are discussing here. So for example, say we are hiring 100 graduate engineering students, right, from campus. So to hire 100 people, we are potentially looking at a candidate pool of around 1,000 to 2,000 students. Now, it's not humanly possible to meet every student. So we have mechanisms in place to filter in the students that we actually want to meet, invite them and meet them through the interview stages. And for that, we have to have in place in-house as well as external test in-source through partners to evaluate these students, right? So I'm giving you a very high-level generic example. Now, how do we decide that, okay, what are those basic jobs, right? The job that we are hiring for and the medium that we are using, like I was sharing. So we look at the job and the role that we want to hire, and based on which we decide the parameters of evaluation and the technology, the relevant technology that we need. Now, it must be automated at every stage, right? Through the application, through the final round of discussion. So they could be your Google Forms, online polls for inviting applications. It could be online interviews. It could be online quizzes, online simulations, gamification, coding, you name it, right? And for it to be successful, the following points are very important. First of all, you need to test. So validate the content of the test that you have created and the relevant IT software support that is required. And create a proper test structure. So now, because we are automated, so how it is how it manages ease of use for business, for candidates, and for HR. So it could be an audio session, it could be a video session, it could be a language session, right? So how the test has been properly created for the ease of use, and then clearly defining the system and IT requirements. So now I think most of us here are in Delhi, Bangalore, Pune, Bombay, right? The candidates that we hire could be situated in Bhagalpur in Bihar or Rajamundry in Andhra, where the internet connection, I'm using a very basic, very crude example, but that's the reality of life that we face, right? So clearly defining the IT systems and the requirements that we have. So, hey, we invite you for the interview. Please ensure that you have the proper mechanism in place to attend the interview. Now, from an ROI point of view, we look at to start off with, I'll name few basic factors that we look at. So the leads to hire ratio, right? So applications invited to interviews, actually interviewed, offered, and then new hires. We also look at the quality of hire. Now, that's the need of the time. So quality of hire, turnaround time. Abdul was talking about the turnaround time. So it's not just about from the time the requisition came to the recruiter to the time we offered and the candidate onboarded. It's also the time spent to manually screen the CV versus automated filtering, right? So that also brings down your turnaround time. Then we also look at cost per hire, source mix, what we call in Rockwell DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also look at various other parameters like ease of use for our customers or our stakeholders, right? So we have the hiring manager survey, we have the new hire survey. So even for our candidates who became employees, we ask them, how was your interview process? Was it good? What can we do to make it better? So having these 7-8 parameters and ROI structures in place helps us evaluate. And over the last 2 years, we have fine-tuned it. Of course, these are the first few forays that we have made into automated hiring, especially for an organization like us, which is in industrial automation. But over the last 2 years, we have grown significantly in the IT software digital space. So the need of the hiring has change almost 180 degree. And so while we also have to look at the speed of hiring, we are also looking at the quality of hiring, the quality time that the HR and the business are spending in interviewing the candidates. So we look at these 7-8 parameters to make an informed decision, and then we work with in-house tools and our partners to ensure that the tools that we have brought in are addressing our business and people needs.
So, Pallav, you spoke about the leads ratio, right? What is the kind of ratio that you look at when it comes to the lead generation part and sourcing the candidates precisely?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
So you initially spoke about the leads ratio, right? When it comes to sourcing the candidates, what is the ideal ratio that you look at?
Okay, from that perspective, I think it would be at least 30-1 in case of software. In case of our core hiring that we have done in industrial automation, it would be around 15-1. But when we look at IT and software skills, it's usually around 25-30:1.
Yeah, because, wherein I understand you really spoke about the quality of the candidates that comes to you or is being sourced. And a lot of things actually depends on the further process, in fact, depends on the kind of candidates who you've approached or you've sourced to. So that lead part is really important for any organization for an understanding. So thank you so much for that. Megha, I'll now move to you. So we've spoken about the ROIs, we've spoken about the methods, we've spoken about how the turnaround time should be and how it works out for everyone. You help me understand that how important are various formats of assessments. So we've already spoken about gamifications and things of those sorts. But how important is that, and how do you think that really helps in hiring the right candidate?
No, I think every organization is very different and unique to each other. Like, I know an organization at the first level, they're so stringent about their psychometric test that, they won't move forward even no matter how great the candidate is, because they firmly believe that psychometric assessment does provide them a huge value in terms of the kind of talent that they hire. At an extreme other end side of the spectrum, I do know the organization who believe not in just the IQ aspect, but rather would focus on the cultural fitment / assessment of the candidate a lot more than just the more stronger aspect of IQ and other personality tests that many organizations think about. So I think it completely depends on what type of organization one is culturally, and then then thinking about what will make the right fit for you when you do a talent assessment, which means if you believe that the culture of the organization is such where fitment has to be 100% on the culture, because skills is something that you can teach, but if the person is not a culture fit, then absolutely I think an assessment of the culture and the core value is the utmost important for them to introduce into the entire talent interview / assessment process, which is an organization which is a lot more data oriented, where numbers are very, very important. Every time that you are expected, you need to show an analysis. I think IQ does make a lot of sense, and think about a couple of other IQ tests that you should introduce. I think personality test helps a lot, I would say, more into leadership roles than, I would say for generic roles, because I think that's where you want to assess what kind of a person is, what kind of a leadership trait that the person is. I think those tests makes a lot of sense when you do, probably a lot senior leadership hiring, to just say that if the person personally matches with the kind of core values and the culture that the organization is, and how will the person perform into a setting of the organization that is. Now, that is one side that traditionally all the organizations are doing. Now, I'll go to an extreme side, and personally what I believe in. See, when we do all of these assessments, right, it's great to do assessments because it obviously helps you filter out the candidate that you're looking for. But the extreme side of it is also that, when you do a personality test, we are not in a business of cloning. I think we have to realize as leaders that, no one leader can replace another leader. And, we should not think about, oh, this is the set of personality traits that only works for the organization. Because think about it, innovation comes from the person who may be extremely different personality type than the person who would be very successful into the same business unit. So I would say that there has to be a cautious when you're rejecting candidate when through these assessments. That doesn't mean the candidate is bad. That just means that it is your outlook as an organization to look. But we as an HR need to open our mindset when we introduce assessment. Like same example, no to personality, you can guarantee that they would be successful or be failure. And we are not supposed to clone, but we should rather imbibe different variety of people, different kind of opportunities that talent provide, if talent does matches what the skill set that you're looking for. So that's my point of view, Sukriti.
Thanks, Megha. I think you've given us some very, very legit points of to consider actually while we are trying to recruit a particular talent. So that really helps. Thanks. I will now move to Jagat. So Jagat, you also being from the tech background, I would want to know from you about the live IDEs that is implemented across platforms. So how can live IDEs increase the effectiveness of candidate assessments by their tech teams? Because the primary, evaluation, I should say, is done by the tech team in order to pick up the right sourced candidates that the HR team brings in. So just help me understand about that.
Yeah. Before that, can we dwell a little bit about, say, forecasting, for example? I'll just make a small comment that I have been very closely associated with hiring in last 13, 14 months. Post-pandemic, when we started hiring a larger number, then I got involved, and I got involved at an execution level also, where senior managers are also coming to me every week, and we sit down and discuss. And we realized that one is a business forecasting, that, what you want to hire. We started forecasting that for each position when business opens, we actually go back and tell them that this will take 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And we set that expectation by forecasting that. And the data exists in most of the organization, because if it is not in the systems, it is there in the Excel sheet. And you can correlate and you can actually predict that, what are your ratios. And as Pallav spoke about ratios, that, when you source X candidates, how many actually turn up, how many qualify, and then how many actually ends up joining. So all that ratio also exists. So actually using ratios, we started predicting that how much time would it take. And then we started taking back that to that how much time we want to spend on those requirements. Like if there is a need which we would not fulfill in, let's say, 4 months, it would take that kind of a time, then do we really want to spend more time on it, or rather let it go? Because, for our case, at least for IT services companies, or where it's a human intensive business, you can decide that you want to take that business or not take that business based on that where you want to focus. So there is a lot. I mean, that's what I keep saying, that this is still a beginning, because this area has not been really focused. And even the point which Megha said was very, very clear, right? I mean, you cannot just typecast everything into one. I mean, you need to be aware of, and you need to loosen up and make sure that. So we actually go for something like the one is a person's inherent qualities, and then another is output of that, or manifestation of that. And we said that, like IQ, for example. Now that is very difficult to change. So yes, you try to do, whether you do it through assessment or you assess through situations, you explain them that here is a problem, try to solve. But some like that, which is you cannot change, you have to assess in some form. Something which you believe can be changed over a period of time or can be acquired, leave it. Because if you're trying to go too specific, you are not going to get enough people, especially in today's days, when candidates are not necessarily looking for which is, the company where I'm going, rather they are all open. They can decide in favor of any company, irrespective of ignoring the brand and everything, whatever we talk about. So it's a bit challenging. And coming back to this ID, before pandemic, when people used to come to office, I used to think that this is not something which is going to be nice, because you need to meet candidates. But with this new truth, right? I mean, this is a forced truth. Probably given a chance, I would still believe that if people walk in and they are sitting face to face, it is way better. But that's not going to happen. So now IDs they play a big role, and not only IDs but associated automation also. So ID is one, because you can actually figure out through IDs that I mentioned earlier, that how they are approaching the problem, what they are correcting, what they are writing first time right there. Even that feedback to candidate helps, because many a times candidates have that thought that I'm pretty good, and when they realize, when they put in their time on ID and based on the problem, they are a little more realistic once you pass through that. And if someone is really good, you filter out also that this guy is by star. I mean, you would get stars and you want to give them a high growth path. So you can actually figure out through IDs what you would do normally after they join your organization. So IDs can help actually fast forward that a lot, which face to face is a little difficult, because when someone is writing on a paper in front of you, it's not that easy compared to when the person is typing in on the ID. And person gets the feedback, and you also can track the whole piece, because without that it is of no use. Then it becomes, it's not an interaction, then it is one way. But it has to be both ways, where we also get that statistics, that how did candidate do in that particular test. So I believe there is a lot which can be done there. And I have a lot of wish list for myself, because as I said, I'm looking for last 13 months this function. But a lot can be achieved, and all new technologies are there. So tech is there. It is just that the focus and money has to be spent on this part to make it really efficient and effective.
So talking about wish list, I think this is something that I'm really keen on to knowing now that we are discussing this. Megha shared a couple of them. Jagat, you've also shared a couple of them. Maybe if you would want to add some more, it'll be good for our understanding. Because what happens is the live IDs part, which we incorporated in SpeedHire, was one of the requirements that one of the brands told us to, right? And I understand that working and hiring people, evaluating them remotely, requires that real-time connection with the candidate to understand them better, right? And these live IDs are the best interface to have the real-time feedback given to the candidate and get the right input from them. So that really helps. If you would want to add on to your wish list, I'd be more than happy. A couple of them more, Jagat. What all exactly are your requirements and how do you exactly look at them?
So one, I would, the wish list is that, see, you have to put a problem in front of candidate and the word is connected. That means for us to derive thousands of problems to really make sure it is kind of unique is very difficult. So because that will be shared, anything which you do, and especially if you do it in front of the fresher, college hiring, university hiring, because that's where it is shared a lot more. Now, in fact, we were working that can we get that all the senior candidates who come for the interview, we even ask them, can you frame a problem? Because when we ask them, can you frame a problem? We also come to know how do they think? Because when they have to really create a problem, let's say it's a programming assignment, we give them an assignment, but we ask them also, can you make a variation of this assignment? And when they make a variation, they have to think a lot and they think and come up. And for us, that's a ready-made material. We don't have to spend time. And at the same time, we assess them. Now, in a remote ID case, it's possible. We used to do it for our own internal hiring here when they come. So that's a one wish list, I would say. Not ID related, but small things like our recruitment. Now we have a 800 people support team also. Now I'm not talking about recruitment, but a business. Now we have the call centers the technologies are very advanced. Now, I'm not sure how many places my team was not using call center. Now I'm deploying a solution for them that these people who are calling, even Sourcer or the people, they don't have to really dial in. I mean, that's such a waste of time. Rather, it has to be a call center solution. That system picks up, it just puts up on their screen and they have to just say, yeah, I'm free, now dial. And I'm going to talk to this candidate. It saves approximately behind each call about 3-4 minutes. And that's a big time. Because the bigger waste is if you call and there is no pickup, the call is not going through and things like that, and you iterate. So my solution is probably this is internal for our own team. We are not going to sell it, but it is about a couple of months away, which will again save a lot of time. And we are IT company, but we never looked at our team like that earlier. I mean, this function itself, we never looked at. That's what I feel that this must be ignored at a lot of places like that, where now the focus can come back and we can actually use it very efficiently.
Thank you, Jagat. I think that was very helpful. Abdul, now I'll move to you. And I would also want to know the wish list or, the kind of things that you're actually, looking forward to when it comes to technology aiding the entire recruitment process and evaluation process for you.
Yes, a couple of things, right? And I think probably I'll write on what Megha said. The assessment need or what you want to really create as a course for candidate depends on what you really want to hire, what you want to hire in the organization, right? Whether if it's a technology organization, the focus would be to assess technology, the top criteria. But I think there are some organizations, even in the technology, they are now giving more importance or pivoting on culture. As Megha said, if the guy is not culturally fit, it may not be able to make that hire as a good hire because he or she may not really fit into the organization culture. But technology can be, trained. So when if it's not technology organization, how they really want to use technology for their assessment is a different discussion altogether, right? So because it's the way you look at things is differently than the technology. Since most of us come from a technology background and we hire mostly people from technology plays a vital role because we are used to it, right? We know what is that we can get from technology. We are confident, sometimes overconfident that we can play the technology, and that also put us in trouble, right? So while we setting up what we really want, there are a lot of organizations outside in the market, they offer these kind of assessments. and say that we can do this for you. But that's not the reality, right? They cannot do it for you. They can probably provide a platform, right? But you need to customize what you really want. If you don't customize, you are just hiring for that company, right? They would have created that whole platform for them to hire, or they think this is what this organization needs. For example, I can speak about Verizon. What Verizon needs, probably we know better than a platform provider. But the platform provider can definitely help us to get there fast, because they already, as Jagat says, already there's a built-in program. You just need to see that how you can customize to your needs so that it really helps you to fine-tune what you really want to hire. The first and foremost from any wish list, I think, is general in nature for everybody, is to see, understand and agree on what you really want to hire. Right? If you are certain about that aspect, then rest all will come into play. The second aspect is technology will not do the 100% job for you. Right? You cannot use technology to assess everything, right? Megha said again, psychometric test, cultural fit, technology assessment, communication. Body language cannot be measured. Attitude cannot be measured through a technology assessment, right? Now, whether this guy comes with an attitude to learn, whether the guy has an attitude to the passion for the work, or the passion for this particular product, what we are working. So those things, I don't know whether technology can come in. Maybe in future, AI or VA come into the part, they bring in all this aspect that how we can really do it. But how you really work towards to create a overall assessment platform, not just focusing only on coding or programming, is something which probably we need to see that how we can really do this. Because going on from this situation, what we are, or unfortunately we are in this place where even then 2 years back, we used to have technology to assess people, right? We use a lot of solution to assess coding credentials of the candidate. But we are moving towards where we assess coding through a platform. We see people through a video conference, right? Everything is moving towards technology. So I think we need to really see how can we build a product which at least should be able to cater to what the clients need. And also it provides the flexibility for that each user to customize their need and see if they can make a package which is necessary for at that point of time. Because technology is variant, right? It's today what you think is very hot or niche in the market, maybe a very redundant skill sometime back and maybe become redundant after some time. So there are other constant areas or abilities or behaviors or parameters we want to assess, which probably need to give focus and see how we can really make this a wholesome, great tool for all of us.
Thanks, Abdul. Pallav, I'll go to you now. I'll want you to focus onto your wish list and tell me about it.
Okay, so I think few of the things that we aspire for, right, as an organization and myself personally for the team, is to reduce the roadblocks in the hiring process, right? Now, through the help of automation technology, we have been able to overcome, but like I said, we are predominantly an automation company making headway into IT and technology, right? So how do we equip our HR team, our business leaders, our recruiters to handle various scenarios? So if you are in office, you are in control, you talk to people in person and take charge of the situation. Now, you are in Delhi, somebody is in Bangalore, somebody is in Pune, and how do you coexist, right? How do you talk to each other and ensure that you efficiently resolve the issue? Another positive trend that I'm looking for is impacting our D&I score. Now, I'm not talking about just women in hiring, but also, other parts of D&I, right? And I was going through a McKinsey study, which found that organizations with top quartile in gender diversity have 25% more profitability than other companies which don't have that much capability. So I would want for my organization to do much better on the D&I aspect. Another thing is, which is no longer a good to have, but must to have, is providing a seamless candidate experience, right? We have a while there is a supply for talent, right? But we are not just hiring. So like 2 years ago, we were competing with the likes of, say, Honeywell, Siemens, Schneider. Today, along with those three behemoths, we are also competing with the likes of SAP, Accenture, Google, Microsoft for talent. So how do we give a seamless candidate experience? So these are the three main parameters that I am looking at from a hiring standpoint.
Thanks, Pallav. Now we've spoken holistically about a lot of things. Two challenges I would want to know from each one of you, whatever the recruitment method or tool all of you using in your organizations. Panelist, then help me understand two major challenges that you're facing currently while you are trying to actually hire remotely when it comes to the tech talent. So I think I'll begin with Megha.
I think, being into technology, financial technology organization, I think the only biggest challenge, and, probably the landscape has changed in the last 9 months. So I'll talk about the current landscape, which is really about the great resignation era. While, you say resignation, what's happening is the talent funnel has become a lot smaller than the way the attrition is happening today in every organization. And not just us, but I think everybody is facing that heat, at least in the technology sector. So I think, how do you shorten the gap between the faster the talent pool is going out, and how can you ensure that the talent pool that comes in is a lot faster, and you have a wider spectrum of talent pool to pick up from. So I think that is, I would say, the biggest challenge, I would say, in the current scenario, that I would say. And second, I think just expectation from the candidates. See, again, going back, pandemic has completely changed the landscape for all of us. Organizations are calling out permanent remote. Organizations are calling about, okay, don't come to office or come one day in a week. Now, how do candidates do demand, couple of those aspects, especially if it is a shift job or a night shift or a BPO, and different type of skills, right? Now, especially in the skills where you're hiring premium candidates, where there is already a huge amount of talent shortage, like your data scientists, like your pen testing, or a couple of cybersecurity skills, your Salesforce, not skills which are already in demand. And now you're not just competing with the fact that it's compensation or the culture, but you're also competing with multiple different other benefits that organizations are providing. So how do you get to an equation where while you may able to provide a lot of it, but just because you're not providing a permanent remote or something that person wants to still work out of their hometown and provide those skills, I think those are a couple of challenges that I don't know if hiring can solve, but I think culturally organization need to start thinking about. So I think two major challenges are: one, talent shortage, which is how will you ensure that the talent funnel fills in as fast as the associates are leaving, and second is solving for the cultural piece when the market is already so much disruptive.
Thanks, Megha. Pallav?
Yes. So I think one of the challenges, or one of our aspirations, right? Let me not put it as challenge, but an aspiration would be to hire the right talent and not the best talent, right? So the relevant talent, and not for a specific role, but for my organization. So solving for the culture. Okay. So even if I'm hiring a customer care agent, I'm hiring a software developer, I'm hiring a hardware design engineer, I'm hiring for Rockwell automation and not for the specific team that they are going into. So that is one of the aspirations that we have, and we have actually undertaken that as a challenge, and we are, doing a lot of that. Secondly, like Megha was alluding to, in terms of the shortage. Now, India is the software corporate capital of the world, and we have a lot of available talent. But again, sifting through 200 Java resumes or .NET resumes and finding that correct talent is a time-taking process. And to get technology help us in that journey, these are the two things that I would want for me, my team, and my organization.
Thanks, Pallav. Abdul?
All right, thanks. I think the most important aspect is every organization today working is how to create that stickiness around the culture and the organization. Right? Today, you hire people, in 2 years back, they have seen the office, they have an opportunity to meet in person, have this coffee break, chat, build a rapport relationship, it not just building individual rapport, it also creates the rapport, the stickiness around the organization, right? Today, I think in the last 2 years, there is no opportunity for people to really have that. People probably casually say that, oh, I'm missing coffee, but that's a great opportunity to know each other, know better about the organization, know better about the work, what we do. And I think that's I think every organization is struggling, because that stickiness is also adding what everybody is talking about, great resignation, right? Because now the market is very open. It is not really driven based on location. Earlier, there is a filter you can put in any job board saying that, okay, show candidates interested in Chennai or show candidates interested in Delhi. Today, that filter, I think it's irrelevant today, right? I think the job boards need to take it out, because nobody is going to filter that, because everybody is open for any location, because they are all working from home. And I think that is one thing which probably organizations are working towards, to see how we can really build that muscle stronger, or it's probably help us to really focus on some of the activities or interventions what we do when it comes to talent retention. Again, when you look at from the hiring, it's also add up to the fact that, as Pallav mentioned, today there are skills. Everybody tells us that I am a full-fledged full stack, right? And when somebody applies, to make sure that we provide a fair opportunity for all the candidates, we need to go through an assessment to see that we are assessing everybody, right? So it is going to time taking. And it's also see that how you really, the pressure from the business or the client groups may be that, how fast we can fill this position, because of the fact what Megha said, how you really reduce the delta between outgoing and incoming, right? You have 60 days, or other companies have 90 days. You don't know how you really match this. So how can we get to a state, maybe what is the technology we can use to get at least the closer of the job description and put them to the funnel, which probably help us to reduce most of the aspects what we are looking at. One is the time, one is the quality of the candidate, the third thing, the cost, and the most importantly, you probably would be closing with the most appropriate candidate what you are looking for, with some of the process what you can. I think these are some of the things which everybody is tackling. Now, I don't think it's not just us. I think this is a common thing which everybody would be tackling to get there.
Thanks, Abdul. I think that really helps us understand the challenges across verticals. Jagat, I'll move to you, and let's help me understand 2 challenges that at Cybage you think you're facing.
Yeah, I was thinking, see, the first challenge, normally Pallav has touched upon that we hire for Rockwell or we hire for a team. Now, for any IT company like us, when we hire a Java or a Python or a machine learning guy or a girl, biggest challenge which I have today, which IDE can solve, can solve very well. Today, what happens when there is a one-on-one communication? So interviewer basically checks. Now, interviewer cannot check for all the open requirements, because the open requirements are across the board, across business units. And if we can have an evaluation of a candidate in terms of a technology, that how good that person is, then that can be passed on to various units by default. And then the chance of that person, if the right person is there, then chance of landing him somewhere is a lot more. And it happens. Sometimes we hire irrespective of what the interviewer is saying, knowing and asking interviewer that up to what level the person is. And then the person fits into some other set of requirements. So that is a one challenge. If we can reduce the rejection by evaluating a person for all open requirements, not just what interviewer is looking at, that's a one big challenge. The another one is, I don't know how to solve that. People have tried engagements and blah, 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 is about candidates not sharing till the last day. Friday, we call them for Monday joining, and they are on track. And Monday, they are not there. And our joining ratios are about 50%. That means when we make 100 offers, we get about 50 people who come and join. Varies between 45 to 55, week to week, and etc., but in that range. And the worst is that you come to know only on the day when they are supposed to join. Now, this is one cultural aspect, of course, and that learning probably will be across at some point of a time. But if candidates, when they decide that they're joining something else, someone else, then if they let us know, or any company, I'm saying, there is a better way. But again, it's not in our control, so we try everything what other people try. But these are the 2 big challenges. And this, just last point, I would say, see, when you look at the data, right, the growth, if 20% is going to happen or 25% is going to happen, we'll have this sort of attrition only, because you don't get those many people. I mean, if 100 people and going to grow 25 more, then from where they will come? You can't take 25 fresher. So you would try to hire 3-4 and you start a trend, then everyone is going to hire the 3-4 from others. That's what it is happening. So higher growth for industry is what it is. And the only solution there is that the experience pool increases, but then how? So ultimately, any industry which grows with that percentage, we should be ready with what's happening today.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Jagat. With this, we come to the end of our conversation. And thank you so much for adding value to the entire panel discussion, everyone. Megha, Jagat, Abdul, Pallav, I'm extremely, extremely elated with the kind of elements and the inputs that all of you have added to my conversation today. So thank you so much for being here in the conclave with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, gentlemen, this was the panel discussion we have just wrapped up. I will now move on to the next segment, which is of the trivia quiz. All you need to do is click on the link that will appear on the screen right now. And after that, you have to go to the link that is www.speedhire.com. Go to that link, navigate, search, look at the questions and answer the questions then and there. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll be eligible to win vouchers of 1,000 rupees each. You have 5 minutes to take this quiz up. So here you go. So the link is here, everyone. All of you can click onto this link and participate in the quiz. The link is live till 5 p.m. today, and you can take 2 attempts. Also, here's a catch for everyone that we have an interesting section coming up, basis which you can answer the questions that is there in the trivia quiz today. So don't miss out onto that. Please ensure that you do attend that part. Listen to the section of the demonstration that our product specialist is going to give it to you, and you'll be able to win vouchers and answer all the questions precisely. So I hope you guys have already clicked onto the link and you're surfing to the through the website and you're trying to pull in the answers. You just have 5 minutes for this as of now, but the link will be live till 5 p.m. today, as I mentioned earlier. So go ahead, navigate through the website. I'll call out the website again. It's www.speedhire.com. Go ahead, look at the questions, find the answers, and win vouchers. I will also would want to tell everyone that the results will be declared by end of this week. So you'll have to wait a little. Stay tuned to our social media handles, and we might just declare the results then and there. It's 3:33, guys. We have 2 minutes to go, and the clock is ticking. This link would just go off the camera after this, after 5 minutes, and post that this, you can only use this till 5 p.m. The link wherein you'll find the answers is www.speedhire.com. Do visit the link and find out all the answers to the questions that's there in the trivia quiz today. Two more minutes, folks. Audience, we just have 2 more minutes, and then we'll actually remove the link and we'll move on to our next segment. I'm sure you're having a good time finding out the answers. Some anxiousness, some adrenaline rush. We've limited the time for you in order to find the answers, but we are giving you another chance in the upcoming section, wherein you'll have to be very observant and carefully listen to what our product specialist is going to talk about of SpeedHire. And I think you'll be able to crack the answers for almost all the questions there. It's 3:34, 1 more minute, and this link would be off. We'll take this off from the screen and we'll move to the next segment, folks. I hope you're able to find the answers with the link that I have just mentioned. You may find the answers at www.speedhire.com. Go surf, navigate through the website thoroughly, and I think you'll be able to find all the answers and win vouchers of 1,000 each. And it's 3:35. The countdown, yes. So that's the end of the trivia quiz. You can participate. If not, then we'll showcase the link again for you while we take the product demo. Now we'll move to the next section, which is of the Fireside conversation, where our guest for today will talk about how our product has been a game changer when it comes to evaluating and hiring a perfect tech talent. Folks, please join me in welcoming Robin Das, the co-founder and CEO of Brand Intel Services Private Limited, a hyper-automated platform to decrease marketing inefficiencies. Welcome to the conclave, Robin.
Thanks, Sukriti. Thanks for having me here.
So, I would not take much of your time. I would quickly jump onto and would want to know how the entire experience of SpeedHire has been for you. So please go ahead and help me understand how has the entire experience been and why do you recommend it?
Sure. So, basically we are a young, startup at like a very early stage right now. So, and we are growing at quite a fast speed. Like our numbers should be like 3 times where we are today. So, we don't even have an HR department right now, which we are hiring at our own scale right now, right? So we realized that to, get quality candidates at this scale at such a fast pace, we really needed to get a solution which would automate a lot of the initial screening process, right? Because we are getting more than 100 applicants a day into our portals. So that's where SpeedHire came in, and we until now the experience has been really good. It has already helped us increase the quality of the candidates which are coming to the interview round, which saves a lot of our time as well as saving a lot of time of the candidate as well. So yeah, it's been a great experience. So thanks for that product.
Thank you. That really is something that we are very happy about. Moving on to the next one, Robin, what is the biggest advantage of the product that you think you have had so far?
So in terms of the, I would put it as 2 ways. One, it's saving a lot of time of our, team, because screening candidates, it's a huge and it's a very energy draining, work, right? So if we're able to, on SpeedHire, we're able to configure MCQs and get like, good sort of quantitative as well as qualitative questions on the portal and automate that, to the candidate the minute they apply to it. It really saves a lot of our time in terms of, people coming on board. And additionally, as a bonus, it's also improving the branding of our organization, right? Because when somebody is applying, there's some sort of an automated test generation portal. So candidates generally like look at that as a plus when it comes to just employer branding perspective. So that's also one of the plus, I would say.
Wonderful. So, talking about the features, since you're using it, I would want to know what are the formats of features you're majorly using as of now?
So primarily it's the contest feature. Like we keep creating new contests for every role, right? And for each opening which we have, we've basically created a hiring plan, right? So who's going to be responsible at what stage? Since again, we're a lean team, hiring plan becomes very important to make sure that we are, getting the right SLAs and the turnaround time for all the openings. So the key feature is contest. And in that, I think proctoring is one of the main USPs of SpeedHire, where we know whether the candidate has left the portal, search something on Google, or has the camera been on or not on. So those kind of things really are giving us authentic applications today.
All right. And help me understand, for what purposes are you exactly using the product? So for example, the kind of job roles that you've looked out for, and how many people have you been able to onboard so far?
So we are primarily using it for tech hiring, right? But we've also explored it for non-tech roles such as customer support, marketing, social media, content writing. So using the qualitative questions, right, where we can have question answer in an standard paragraph format, or even the MCQs where we can check aptitude, right, communication skills. So this has let us use it as like a non-tech portal as well in terms of general aptitude, general communication. And we've been able to, like some of the statistics, if I jump into the numbers, like the interview turnout has gone down by 40%. So that's not a bad thing, because actually those 40% people were not a good fit, right? Or maybe not serious, applicants. And the percentage of people who move from round 1 to round 2 has actually gone up by 70% for us, right? So that is actually really, increasing the probability of good quality candidates coming in. So, yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm happy that you're so happy about the entire usage and you're getting the right value input when it comes to hiring the right person. Last one, Robin, how has the product increased the overall team's efficiency for you?
So I just covered that as well, right? In terms of mainly time, right? It's like really saving huge amount of time for our hiring managers, product managers who actually to do discovery calls, with each of the candidates and asking like, okay, what is your aspiration? What do you plan to do? Basic stuff like checking communication, checking aptitude. All of that is actually automated with the first step of screening, right? Where we know a lot about the candidate without actually spending time. So as I mentioned, like 70% of people, there's been a 70% increase in people going from round 1 to round 2. So that itself has increased the efficiency by quite a lot. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Robin. I think I had a great time conversating with you and knowing about your experience of SpeedHire. So thank you so much for being here on the panel and show for us, Robin.
Thank you. Thanks, Sukriti.
So that was about the experience Robin Das had with SpeedHire. I will now move to the next segment. And ladies and gentlemen, this segment is very important if you really want to have an experience and win the trivia quiz. Up next is a product demo. And if you have a penchant for problem solving and making a clear assessment, we're about to present a small video exploring the specialized features of SpeedHire. And as I mentioned, that if you observe this video carefully, you'll be able to answer the questions of the trivia quiz. So go ahead, be very careful, listen to this product demo very carefully, and let's go ahead with the trivia quiz as well.
Hi, this is Survi. I'm Senior Product Specialist in SpeedHire. You might have got feel of the product from Gautam. Now let me give you more deeper insight on our product. SpeedHire is a technically advanced AI-powered tool with capability to assess the developers in 56 coding languages. With SpeedHire, it becomes very easy to create tests and assess the candidate remotely with highly advanced proctoring and plagiarism features. When it comes to remote hiring, SpeedHire also supports global time zone. Well, in mid-level or bigger companies, there are dedicated teams for various hiring projects. So apart from various assessment features, we also provide user management and team management support with role-based access control on the platform, where team members can easily coordinate with each other within the platform itself. SpeedHire platform can be used for various different purposes such as campus hiring, lateral hiring, internal engagement, and branding. Specifically talking about hiring, SpeedHire as an assessment platform provides end-to-end support from ATS integration to L1 assessment, where you will be able to assess and shortlist the candidate, and then further you can set up the virtual interview with shortlisted candidate. Now let me divide my demonstration into 3 sections. 1. How easily you can create assessment in SpeedHire platform and send the test invite to the candidate. Second, once candidate has taken that test, then how recruiter can view report and shortlist the candidate based on the performance. And at last, how to conduct virtual interview with shortlisted candidate. So this is the test setting interface. So it is majorly divided into two sections. One is the contest description and second is the contest settings. So under contest description, here you have to put the basic details of the assessment, like assessment name, company name, what are the skill set, as well as you can also upload logo and company banner. In the next step, you can define the test structure as well as you can add question paper. So in SpeedHire, you can add up to 5 rounds in one single assessment. Here I have already created one round for MCQ, basically to test the domain knowledge of the candidate, and another round I have created for the coding. Let me add question paper for the second round. So these are the various question paper which I have created earlier. So if I want, I can select the one and I can use it in this particular round, reuse my old question paper, or else I can create the question paper from scratch. This is our library. So here, as we said that we support team management. So for every team, we provide separate library. So either you can select team library or company library, where all the questions will be accessible by all the team members. And then we have personal library and various SpeedHire library. Now once I select the library, further I can select the question type. So based on your hiring requirement, you can select the question type. So SpeedHire support MCQ, coding, data science, Java project, Spring Boot project, Angular project, React project, case study, subjective, and DB rank. So as you can see, we have around 15,000 questions in our library. Here you can further select the difficulty level based on the audience you want to target. And then here you can specify the skill for which you want to select the question. So suppose I want to select the questions for Java. So here we have more than 3,000 questions for Java skill set. So here in the left hand side, you can click on the checkbox to select the questions, and accordingly you can create a complete question paper. Now, in interest of time, let me select the question paper which are already available. So here, since I'm adding the question for coding round, so I will select coding and I will search the question. So this is one of the question paper which I have created earlier. So here I can see the structure of the test paper, that how many questions are there, what are the total marks, and then I can, with just one click, I can reuse this question paper and my round is prepared. Moving ahead, in the next step, here you can add the contest description, rules, FAQs, terms and condition, and about company detail, which will be visible in the test landing page for the candidate. In the next step, here you can enter the time settings and you can publish your round for the participation. So till now we have done with our test settings, till now we have done with our adding question paper. Now in the next step, here are the test settings. So there are two modes of invitation. One is the invite mode and second is the public mode. So when you select the invite mode, the candidate to whom you have invited from our platform will be allowed to participate. And if you make your test link public, then anybody who has the access of this test URL will be allowed to participate. And if you want to target the specific domain, or you can say if you want to target a specific campus, so you can mention the domain name of the college and then candidate will be allowed to participate. Then we have a result section. So here you can decide whether you want to enable the result or not, whether you want to disclose the result to the candidate or not. Similarly, we have a leaderboard. Again, if you want to enable the leaderboard for gamification, you can do that. The best part of our tool is that it allows you to customize these test settings as per your requirement at round level. Similarly, we have award section where you can upload various JDs, as well as you can mention the price details. Maybe it can be some joining bonus. Then we have a question settings where you can mention the test duration as well as the number of attempts for a specific round. The same settings you can do for each and every round. At the bottom, these are the 56 coding languages. As per your hiring need, you can select the languages for the candidate, so that candidate will be forced to take the test in that particular language only. Then we have a proctoring settings in place. So one of the proctoring setting is live images of the candidate, which is a webcam proctoring. So if you enable this proctoring feature, various things will be captured in a candidate report, such as a screenshot of the test screen, snapshot of the candidate face, and the complete audio video of the candidate will be recorded, including the red flags such as multiple face detected, candidate move out of the test screen, and so on. Similarly, next proctoring feature is restrict browser new tab. If you enable these settings, the candidate will not be allowed to move out of the test screen, and here you can mention the number of warning. Once the number of warning is over, the test will be auto submitted. Similar case with the full screen mode. If you enable this, the candidate will not be allowed to get out of the full screen mode, and if you try to exit, his test will be auto submitted, and here you can define the number of warning. You can also restrict the copy paste in a coding editor if required. Next is a qualifying criteria, where you can put the passing marks for each round, as well as you can also apply a level wise cutoff, where suppose if you set a level wise cutoff as 20, so the candidate who gets 20 or above 20 score in round 1 will be allowed to participate in next round. So in this way you can reduce your funnel. Next is a candidate details. So this is the so if you want to create your own custom registration form, so either you can select the predefined field which are available, or you can also create your own custom field as well. Once you are done with the test settings, if test creator want to review his or her the settings which he has done very quickly, so he can use the my checklist, where he can go through all the settings done by him or her, and it will highlight the settings which is not done yet. So if I click on invite setting, it will take me to the invitation environment where I can invite the candidates. So either I can put the email ID one by one over here, or I can upload the email ID in a bulk format. Further, I can also edit the sender name, subject line, as well as the mailer body, and send it to the candidate. Further, if you want, you can save that template for future use. So once the candidate receives the invitation mail, he can take the test. So this is how the invitation mail look like. So I have invited myself, and once candidate will click on the participate now, he will land to the test environment. So this is the test landing page, where you can see the logo and banner of the organization, and this is the test structure. So here I have created 2 rounds. One is the screening round and second is the coding round. So candidate can simply click on the start and participate. Now let me show you the report section. So once candidate has taken the test, the recruiter can overview the test report. So right now, as you can see in the dashboard, if you want to track the overall, the overall test assessment done till date, you can go through the stats available. So here you can see what are the registrations, invite funnel, test funnel, what are the number of registration versus participation, and candidate ratings as well. Now to see the report of a specific test, we can select the test from the drop down. Suppose I select this particular test, I can click on the view analytics. So here you can see the overall view of the test, that how many people got invited, registered, and submitted. To see the report in detail, click on the funnel, and here you can see exactly who are the people who got invited, and you can see their submissions as well. Under the submission, you can see that what are the score of the candidate per round, right? Now to see the detailed report, you can click on the view detail. Here you can see the candidate summary, where you can see that how candidate has performed in different groups or round. We provide a very detailed report, where not only we show you that what is the performance of the candidate in overall, but we also highlight that how candidate has performed in different round, in different difficulty level, as well as skill wise analysis. So here you can see that how candidate has performed and scored per round basis, as well as the difficulty level basis. And here you can see how he has performed skill wise basis. Now to see the report more into detail, so here we not only tell you that how candidate has performed as an individual, but we also benchmark the candidate against the other participant. So here, marks distribution and time distribution graph will help you to understand exactly where candidate is standing. Further, you can see how candidate has performed in different groups, how candidate has performed skill-wise, difficulty level-wise, as well as question-wise, where you can see the status of the candidate as well per question. Similarly, you can see the report for coding as well, that how candidate has performed, difficulty level-wise, question-wise, how many test cases he has passed or failed, as well as what is the code submitted by the candidate. Apart from this, if you want to share the report with your internal team, you can simply download the consolidated report or candidate summary report, or even you can download the round-wise report of the candidate. With that, you can also take an action whether you want to shortlist or reject the candidate based on his performance. Then we have a proctoring details in place where you can select the rounds and you can see the proctoring details. So in the left hand side, you can see various flags which are available with their timestamp. And if you select the flag, you can also see their respective screenshot available. So you can simply zoom it and you can see that candidate has tried to switch that tab. Similarly, you can see various candidate snapshot available. And you can see the video and you can play it at your end as well. At the bottom, you can see the summary where you can see the number of time error log has appeared. So this is all about the proctoring details. Apart from that, if required, you can also track the candidate through timeline, that when he got invited, registered and did the submission for different round. Lastly, apart from that, we also have private leaderboard where you can see the top performer of the test. As well as, if required, you can also download the Excel report where you can see the ranking of the candidate. So this is all about the reports section and the assessment side of it. Once you shortlist the candidate, the recruiter can further go ahead and schedule the interview with the shortlisted candidate. So this is the interview dashboard where you can see 3 tabs available. One is the ongoing tab, under which you can see the live interviews. Second is the schedule tab, under which you can see the list of the interviews which are scheduled for coming days. And under the completed tab, you can see the report of the interviews which are completed. Now to schedule an interview, it's a very simple interface where you just need to fill the interview title, candidate detail such as name, email ID, phone number and resume. Phone number and resume are optional. And interviewer and panelist detail where only name and email ID is required. Here you can add up to 5 panelists including interviewer. And then further you can schedule the interview by selecting date and time. Once you save and exit and schedule the interview, an auto trigger mail will go to all the panelists as well as the candidate, which will include the interviewer detail. So now our interview is visible under the schedule section where you can see the basic description of the interview. Now before the start of the interview, there are few actions which you can perform. First, either you can add the question into interview. Second, you can edit the details of the interview. And third, you can cancel the interview. Either if you edit the details or you cancel the interview, in both the cases an auto trigger mail will go to everybody. Now this is, since I have added myself as an interviewer, this is the mail which I have received from SpeedHire, which include candidate detail as well as the interview link as well. Now I can simply download the link and I can see the resume of the candidate as well. When I have to join the interview, I can simply click on the link. There is one feature known as video playback feature where the complete interview is being recorded at interviewer end. So it's important for an interviewer to share his screen. Now, being an interviewer, I can start the interview, and till the time I start the interview, the candidate is not allowed to get into the interviewer room. So this is our virtual interview room. So my colleagues have joined. So Pahi has joined as a candidate and Ishika has joined as a panelist, including me. So in the left hand side, you can see this is a problem statement where problem description, including input output format, constraint and sample test case is visible. This is a collaborative coding editor where the interviewer panelist as well as the candidate can code in parallel. In the top right corner, you can see a selected language drop down where candidate can select the language. So here the interviewer can ask the candidate to select the specific language as per his requirement. So as you can see, Pahi has just changed the language from Java to C++. This coding editor gives you a real-time experience where the candidate write and you can see the code in a real time. So as you can see, Pahi is writing the code and being an interviewer, I can see it at my end in a real-time scenario. Okay. So apart from the coding editor, and usually in the interview, apart from a full-fledged coding problem statement, usually the interviewer panelist usually give a question such as, code snippet, or maybe ask the candidate to write some SQL query. In that case, you can use the discussion editor. Again, this is a collaborative editor where the panelist as well as interviewer as well as the candidate can write in parallel. So as you can see, we all can write in parallel. So apart from the audio video interaction between the panelist and candidate, we also support chat interaction where we have two chat windows. One is with the candidate where a panelist can interact with the candidate, and second is a moderator chat where the panelists can interact with each other privately. So this is all about the interview side of it. So once interview is being done, you can end the interview. Once interview is ended, a feedback form will go to the interviewer as well as to the candidate. And here this is the interviewer feedback for me. So I can either shortlist, reject or under review the candidate. And then I have to give the score based on his and her performance. And then also there is a free space where I can give a feedback and submit. So let's see the report of the candidate. So here you can see the candidate image. So before getting into the interview, the candidate image is being captured. Then this is the result that I have shortlisted the candidate. This is the feedback from the interviewer as well as from the candidate. So at the candidate level, the overall experience and the quality of the questions is being taken as a feedback. Apart from that, this is the complete interview which is being recorded. So if required, you can play this interview at your end again. And this is the problem statement with candidate code and test case outcome. So based on this, you can take the further steps. So these are the few key highlights of our platform. Now that you have a better understanding about our product, why don't you try by yourself? So in the lobby, there is a link which you can click and try to create a test at your end and win some good Amazon vouchers.
Thank you so much, Surbhi. I think that was very helpful for our audience. Now that you've seen the product demo, I think it will be more easier for you to answer the questions of the trivia quiz. If you have one more attempt left, go ahead, participate and answer the questions, of course. And you can also navigate through the website www.speedhire.com. Moving on to the next one. This actually brings us to the end of our conclave. But before that, I would like to invite Ayush Sharma from SpeedHire team for the vote of thanks.
Hey, thank you so much, Sukriti. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Ayush.
Thank you so much for curating and successfully bringing the second edition of SpeedHire Conclave to closure. What an exciting event we have had so far. I would like to thank the entire audience for taking time out and joining us today to be a part of the second edition of the virtual SpeedHire Conclave. Special thanks to all our panel speakers for gracing the event with your presence and sharing insights with the audience from your rich experiences on the impact of various tech interventions and assessment tools in driving the overall recruitment efficiency for tech hiring, and most essentially for managing three critical aspects of hiring, which is hiring tag, cost per hire, and quality of hire. I would like to thank Mr. Robin for joining us today for the Fireside chat and sharing your experiences on a positive note about the SpeedHire platform. Happy to hear that platform did bring down the time to evaluate candidates for you. People moving from round 1 to round 2 jumped by about 70%, and it has also added significantly to the overall interview productivity by weeding out the junk profiles. So this was a very good feedback. Happy to hear that from you. We have seen assessment tools gaining a significant prominence over the past few years, as it offers a very, very scientific, validated, reliable, and standardized approach to evaluate a tech candidate. We at Times Internet and TechGeek have been innovating constantly to build solutions for tech-focused hiring. It started about a decade ago with TechGeek, and today we hold one of the largest community of techies and coders across the globe. Likewise, another effort for where we are investing a lot on the SpeedHire platform, which is a very, very focused platform for tech as well as non-tech hiring. SpeedHire is the most advanced tech assessment platform from the house of Times Internet and TechGeek. It offers features like auto scale for conducting bulk assessments, advanced AI-based proctoring with no-face, multi-face, government ID proof match to ensure that your assessments are cheating-proof, coding languages and the various tech skills coverage. In fact, we are the platform which offers the broadest coverage of coding languages across the various assessment platforms that are available in the market at this point in time. It has a robust library of in-house curated content. We constantly add content basis the exposure quotient. So with this, I would like to thank everybody for being part of the session. I would request all of you to please sign up for free demo to experience the platform. And we look forward to meeting you at the networking bay for knowing you more, and look forward to staying connected and looking forward to meeting you in our another event. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thanks, Ayush. Thanks, Ayush. Thank you so much for that. So, friends, this is the end of our conclave. And if you're eager to meet our team, we have an immediate networking zones here on the platform. You can visit the nearest located booth and meet each other and our team. And before I sign off, I would like to thank each one of you for being here and listening to our eminent guests and the entire conversation today. Your presence is highly, highly appreciated. Thank you, one and all. Please take care, stay safe, and have a blissful evening, everyone.